When Emily stepped into the playroom, Lily looked up, stretched out her arms, and uttered two words that shattered Ethan's world: "Mommy's back." Ethan dropped his coffee mug. The glass exploded against the marble floor, because his 6-year-old daughter had never spoken a single word, not one, in all her 6 years of life. Until that moment. Here's the story of 3 souls that found each other 275 years later. It's a tale of a promise made over the body of a lifeless child, and a love that neither death, nor time, nor reincarnation could erase. And you need to understand everything from the beginning, because what happened that September morning in that $80 million penthouse defied everything medicine knows about autism, consciousness, and memory. Ethan Sterling was 39 years old and carried a void in his heart that all the money in the world couldn't fill. CEO of Sterling Pharmaceuticals, net worth estimated at $600 million. Penthouse occupying 3 floors on the Upper East Side. Private helicopter. Art collection valued at $40 million, but none of it mattered. Because 3 years ago, his wife, Olivia, had died giving birth to Lily. Complications during labor. A hemorrhage that no doctor could stop. And Lily was born. Beautiful. Perfect. But different. At 6 months. She didn't respond to her name. At 12, she didn't point. At 2 years old, she didn't speak. At 3, the diagnosis came: severe nonverbal autism with significant cognitive impairment. Ethan tried everything. The best specialists in the world, experimental therapies, exorbitantly expensive treatments. Nothing worked. Lily lived in her own world. She made no eye contact, didn't respond to stimuli, spent hours drawing the same shapes. She had violent sensory meltdowns with sounds or lights, and she had never, ever spoken. 15 nannies had tried. 15 had quit, some in days. The most resilient lasted 3 months, until Emily Morales rang the doorbell that Tuesday morning. Emily was 31 years old and carried a pain that even time couldn't heal. 2 years ago, she was a special education teacher in a public school in the Bronx. She loved her job. She was good at it. Children that no one could reach responded to her. And she was pregnant. 7 months along. It was a boy. She was going to name him Daniel. But then, premature labor. At 28 weeks, the baby was born. He lived 6 hours. Then stopped breathing. Congenital heart disease that no one had detected. Emily fell into a deep depression. She resigned from her job. She couldn't bear to enter a classroom again. Every child she saw was the son she had lost. She spent all her savings on therapy, then on medical bills. She lost her apartment, moved back in with her mother, and when the money ran out completely, she accepted the only job she could find, a nanny position, through an agency. The agency warned her, she's a difficult child, autistic, doesn't speak, has meltdowns. 15 nannies have already quit, but the pay is good, $4,000 a month. Emily had no choice. She accepted. And that Tuesday morning, she rang the doorbell of the most expensive penthouse on the Upper East Side, with no idea of what was about to happen. Ethan opened the door. He saw a 31-year-old woman, tired face, simple but clean clothes, deep brown eyes filled with ancient sadness. He didn't feel anything special, just another nanny, probably wouldn't last a week. "Good morning. You're Emily, right? Come in." He guided her through the penthouse, 3 floors, views of the entire Upper East Side, works of art on the walls, Italian furniture, state-of-the-art technology. Emily followed in silence, trying not to seem impressed, trying not to think that she would earn in a month what the electricity bill for that place cost. Ethan explained the routine. Lily wakes up at 7. She doesn't eat alone. She needs to be fed. She doesn't speak. But sometimes she points. She has meltdowns with loud noises, bright lights, changes in routine. When that happens, leave her alone in a dark, quiet room for 30 minutes. Emily listened, mentally taking notes. None of this was new to her. She had worked with dozens of children on the spectrum. "She's in the playroom now," Ethan said. "I'll introduce you. But don't expect a reaction. Lily doesn't recognize people. To her, everyone is the same thing. Obstacles or absences." He opened the door to the playroom. It was enormous. Soft carpet, educational toys organized by color and type, windows with panoramic views, soft, controlled lighting. And in the corner, sitting with her back to them, was Lily. Long, straight brown hair, light pink dress, bare feet, drawing something on paper with crayons. "Lily?" Ethan called softly. "There's someone here to meet you." The girl didn't turn around, didn't stop drawing. As always, Ethan sighed. "You see? She doesn't respond. She just..." But then Emily took 2 steps into the room, and Lily froze. The crayon fell from her hand. She turned her head, slowly, as if she were fighting against something. And for the first time in 6 years, Lily looked directly into the eyes of another person. Emily felt a shock run through her body, as if something ancient had awakened, something she didn't know was sleeping. Lily stood up, stiff, uncoordinated movements, characteristic of autism. But she walked straight to Emily. Ethan was paralyzed. Lily never approached strangers. Never. She would either run away or ignore them. The girl stopped a foot away from Emily, staring intently at her. And then she stretched out her arms. The universal gesture of a child asking to be held. Emily knelt down, without thinking, without questioning, and took Lily into her arms. The girl buried her face in Emily's neck and whispered, so softly that it was almost inaudible, "Mommy's back." That's when Ethan dropped his coffee mug. The glass shattered, coffee splattered. But no one moved. Emily was trembling, holding this little girl she didn't know, but who felt familiar. Impossible, but familiar. Ethan took 3 staggering steps. She spoke. His voice was unrecognizable, a mixture of shock, hope, and fear. Emily looked at Lily. The girl had raised her head. She was smiling, a small, uncertain, but real smile. "Can you understand what just happened? A child diagnosed with severe, non-verbal autism. 6 years without saying a word. And suddenly, with a stranger, she speaks." But it wasn't what she said that was impossible. It was how she said it. Because while Ethan and Emily processed the shock, Lily pressed her forehead against Emily's and whispered again. This time, more words. "Mommy's back. I've waited so long for you." Emily froze. That was French, not Spanish, not Portuguese, French. And she understood perfectly, even though she had never studied the language. "Mommy's back. I've waited so long for you." How could a 6-year-old child, who'd never spoken be speaking French? Ethan approached, cautiously. "What did she say?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Was that French?" Emily nodded, still in a daze. "She said, 'Mommy's back.' She said, 'She's waited so long for me.'" Ethan recoiled slightly. "That's impossible. Lily has never been exposed to French. Never. I don't speak French. My wife didn't speak French. We don't have French nannies. She doesn't watch shows in French." Emily looked down at the little girl in her arms. Lily was relaxed, calm, as if she'd finally found safety, and Emily felt tears streaming down her face, without knowing why, just feeling an ancient ache, a profound grief, and at the same time, an inexplicable relief, as if she'd been searching for something for a long, long time, and had finally found it. If you've ever lost someone you loved, you know the feeling. That hole that never quite closes, that sensation that a part of you died along with them. Emily had felt that when Daniel died, her baby. 6 hours of life, cut tragically short, but now, holding Lily, she felt something different, as if the baby she lost had come back. In some impossible way, not physically, but not literally, but spiritually, as if the soul she had carried had been reborn somewhere else, and now she had found it. Ethan watched the scene, unsure of what to do. Should he call a doctor, a therapist, the police? But Lily was calm, more calm than he had ever seen her. There was no crisis, no agitation, just peace. "Emily," he said carefully, "can you put her down? I need to understand what's happening." But when Emily tried to lower Lily, the little girl clung to her with surprising strength and said again, in French, "Non, ne me laisse pas. Pas encore. No, don't leave me. Not yet." Emily looked up at Ethan, her eyes wide. "She doesn't want me to let go." "Then don't let go," he replied, his voice strained. "Just sit down. Let's talk." They sat on the playroom rug, Lily in Emily's lap, Ethan facing them, and for the first time since Lily was born, she was making eye contact, not with her father, but with Emily. "I need to know," Ethan began. "Have you worked with her before? Do you know her from somewhere?" "Never, I swear, I've never seen this girl in my life." "Do you speak French?" "No. I studied a little bit in high school. 15 years ago. I remember next to nothing." "But you understood what she said?" "Yes, I don't know how, but I understood. Perfectly." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, trying to process it all. "The doctors said she would never speak. They said her autism was too severe, that the best-case scenario would be her learning basic sign language at 10, 12 years old." He looked at his daughter, really looked at her, and saw something he had never seen before. Lily was present, conscious, connected. She still wasn't talking to him, but she was there, in a way she had never been before. "How long can you stay today?" he asked. Emily checked her watch. "The agency said full time, 7 in the morning to 7 at night. Stay, please. I'll pay you double, triple. Just stay with her. You don't need to pay me more, and I'll stay." And she did. Over the next few hours, impossible things continued to happen. Emily offered Lily some food. The girl ate it, on her own, something she never did. Emily put on some soft music. Lily didn't have a sensory meltdown. She swayed her head to the rhythm. Emily picked up a picture book. Lily pointed to the images, made sounds, tried to form words, and throughout it all, she didn't let go of Emily's hand, as if she was afraid she would disappear. Ethan watched from a distance, recording videos on his phone. He needed proof, because no one would believe it. In the late afternoon, Lily finally fell asleep, in Emily's lap. Something else she never did. She slept alone, in her crib, with the lights off and complete silence. But there, in Emily's arms, she slept peacefully. Emily carried her to her room, laid her on the bed, covered her with the blanket. And when she tried to leave, Lily grabbed her hand, without opening her eyes, and murmured, "Rest, s'il te plaît. Stay, please." Emily looked at Ethan, who was standing in the doorway. He nodded. "Stay. I'll get a chair." He brought one, Emily sat beside the bed, holding Lily's hand, and they stayed like that for hours. The girl sleeping, Emily watching over her, Ethan observing from the door, until at 9 o'clock at night. Emily finally got up. Lily was sound asleep. She left the room. Ethan was waiting for her in the living room. "I need to go," she said. "My mom is waiting for me." Ethan nodded. "Will you come back tomorrow?" "If you want me to." "I do. Lily does. I don't have words for what happened today." He took out his wallet, took out some money. "Here, advance." Emily saw it. It was double her monthly salary, in cash. "This is too much." "No, it's not. You did in one day what 15 nannies couldn't do in 3 years. Emily accepted it, not out of greed, but because she needed it, desperately. "Tomorrow at 7? Ethan confirmed. "At 7. She left, took 3 buses to get back to the Bronx, arrived home at 11 at night. Her mother was waiting. "How was your first day?" Emily sat down, put her head in her hands. "Mom, something strange happened," and she told her everything. The girl who didn't speak, who spoke, in French, who called her mommy, who wouldn't let go of her, her mother, 60 years old, religious, looked at her with a serious expression. "That girl knows you from somewhere, Emily." "No, Mom. I've never seen her before." "Not in this life." Emily froze. "What do you mean?" Her mother took her hands. "You lost Daniel 2 years ago, and since then you carry that pain, as if you lost more than just a son, as if you lost something ancient." "Mom, please don't start with these past life stories." "Then how do you explain it? A child who has never spoken speaks to you, in a language you don't know, calls you mommy, and you feel something. Don't you feel it?" Emily didn't answer, because yes, she had felt it. "Tomorrow," her mother said, "you go back there and pay attention, not to what she says, to what she does. Children remember, adults forget, but children, they know." That night, Emily dreamed. She was in another place, another time, a small wooden house, smell of herbs, sound of rain, and a girl in her arms. 6 years old. Brown hair, simple white dress. The girl was sick, high fever, labored breathing. And Emily. But it wasn't Emily, it was another name, Madeline, was holding her, crying. And a man was there, beard, old clothes, desperate. "Jean-Baptiste," she heard her own voice say, "she's dying." "No, she won't die. I'm a doctor. I'll save her." But he didn't save her. Emily woke up screaming, cold sweat, racing heart. It had only been a dream, just a dream. But when she looked in the bathroom mirror, her eyes were bloodshot, as if she'd been crying for hours. And there was a feeling in her chest of loss, of guilt, of an unfulfilled promise. Something that whispered, "I couldn't save her then, but I will save her now." Even without understanding what it meant, the next day, at 7 in the morning, Emily rang the doorbell to the penthouse again. Ethan answered. He looked like he hadn't slept. "She's been waiting for you." She woke up at 5 a.m. "She's been sitting by the door to her room, waiting for you to arrive." Emily went inside. And there was Lily, sitting on the floor in the hallway, staring intently at the front door. When she saw Emily, her entire face lit up. And she got up, ran, stumbling but determined, and threw herself into Emily's arms. "Mommy's back!" And this time, Ethan felt it too. A shiver, a déjà vu, as if that scene had played out before. A long, long time ago. And when Emily looked up and met his gaze, something passed between them. Recognition. Not romantic, not sexual. Something deeper. As if they were, partners from another life, who had lost something precious together. And now, they were standing before her again, ready to be saved. But Ethan Sterling didn't believe in past lives. He didn't believe in reincarnation. He didn't believe in anything he couldn't measure, test, prove. He was a scientist, CEO of Sterling Pharmaceuticals. He dealt with facts, molecules, clinical data. And what was happening with Lily had a rational explanation. It had to. That very afternoon, with Lily playing peacefully with Emily, Ethan called his daughter's neuropsychiatrist, Dr. Hayes, the best in the Upper East Side. She answered on the third ring. Dr. Hayes, I need you to come to the penthouse, now. Something's happened with Lily. She arrived in 40 minutes. Grey hair pulled back, thin-rimmed glasses, executive briefcase. Ethan greeted her in the living room. Away from the playroom where Emily and Lily were, she spoke. He cut to the chase. The doctor took off her glasses, cleaned the lenses. A habit when she needed to process something seemingly impossible. Lily spoke. Yes. Words. Phrases. In French. Ethan. I understand the stress of raising a child with special needs. Sometimes we project. I recorded it. He showed her the video on his phone. The doctor watched. Once, twice, 3 times. When she looked up, she was pale. This isn't possible. I know. But it happened. Severely non-verbal autistic children don't develop spontaneous speech like this. Not in complex sentences, not in another language. This violates everything we know about neurological development. Then how do you explain it? She put her glasses away. I don't. I need to examine her. She examined Lily for 3 hours. Cognitive tests, language tests, brain scans, behavioral analysis. And in the end, she sat down with Ethan in his study. The results are contradictory. Yes, Lily still presents all the markers of severe autism, difficulty with eye contact, except with this nanny, sensory hypersensitivity, except when she's present, limited communication, except when she's addressing her. And the speech? It shouldn't be possible. Her Broca's area has documented underdevelopment. She shouldn't be able to form complex sentences, much less in French, a language she's never learned. So, what's happening? The doctor clasped her hands together. There are rare, very rare, cases of autistic children who exhibit unexplained abilities, savantism, photographic memory, musical skills. But this is different. Different how? It's as if the presence of this woman has activated something that was dormant. Ethan stood up, walked to the window. Panoramic view of the Upper East Side. City lights beginning to twinkle. Are you saying that Emily has some kind of therapeutic effect? I'm saying, I don't know. And as a scientist, admitting I don't know is the most honest thing I can do. She got up to leave. My advice, continue with Emily. Document everything. And if Lily continues to progress, consider that perhaps there are things that science cannot yet explain. When she left, Ethan was alone in his study. He didn't want to believe. He couldn't. Because if he believed that souls could reincarnate, that memories could cross centuries, that destinies could repeat themselves, then he would have to face something more terrifying, the possibility that Lily wasn't destined to live, just like Amelie, the little girl from Emily's dream, who died at 6 years old. And Lily was 6 years old. In the following weeks, the connection between Emily and Lily deepened in impossible ways. Emily knew things no one had told her. One day, Lily had a sensory overload. Lights, sounds, everything became too much. She started screaming, hitting herself, panicking. All the previous nannies had either run away or called Ethan, But Emily picked Lily up, took her to the bathroom, closed the door, turned on the shower with warm water, and stayed there with her, under the water, singing softly. In 15 minutes, Lily was calm. When they came out, Ethan was waiting, terrified. "How did you know to do that?" Emily blinked, confused. "Do what?" "The warm water, the sound of the shower. It works as sensory therapy. But I never told you. The therapists took months to figure that out. How did you know?" I don't know. I just felt it was the right thing to do. Felt it. Didn't think. Felt. As if she had done it before. Many times. Another time. Lily refused food. Didn't want to eat anything. Stayed like that for 3 days. Ethan was desperate. Emily went into the kitchen, took specific ingredients, carrots, potatoes, fresh herbs, made a soup, simple, rustic. And Lily ate it. The whole bowl. Ethan tasted it. It was delicious, but it wasn't Mexican. It wasn't modern. It was ancient, as if it came from another time. "What recipe is that?" Emily looked at the pot, surprised. "I don't know. I've never made this before. I just made it." "How did you know the ingredients?" "I didn't know. My hands. They just did it." Her hands remembered, even if her mind didn't. And then, the second object proof happened. It was night. Lily couldn't sleep, restless, scared, as if she was having nightmares even when awake. Emily was in the room with her. Ethan watched from the doorway, and Emily, without thinking, started to sing. Softly. Gentle melody. Words in French that she didn't know she knew. Doors. Mon enfant. Doors, doucement. The angels are watching. Tenderly. When the morning comes, bright and clear. Mommy will always be here. Sleep, my little darling. Sleep softly. The angels watch you so tenderly. When the morning dawns, bright and clear, Mommy will always be here. Lily relaxed. Instantly, she closed her eyes. Her breathing deepened, became regular. Within 5 minutes, she was asleep. Emily stopped singing. She looked at her own hands, trembling. Where did that come from? Ethan entered the room, whispering. What song was that? I don't know. I've never heard it before. It just came out. He recorded Emily singing again. He sent it to a professor of French folklore at Columbia University. The answer came 2 days later. That song is a traditional lullaby from the Lyon region of France, 18th century. Very old, almost forgotten. How did you get access to it? Ethan showed the message to Emily. She was speechless. I've never studied French folklore. I've never been to France. I've never heard that song. But you sang it perfectly, with correct pronunciation. How? Because Madeleine used to sing that to Amélie every night in 1750 at their rustic home near Lyon. And now, 275 years later, Emily was singing it to Lily. Ethan started researching. Obsessively, Lyon, France, 1750. Doctors, midwives. He found historical records online, digitized archives, parish documents, and then he found it. Death certificate, 1756, Lyon, Amélie Rousseau, 6 years old. Daughter of Jean-Baptiste Rousseau, a physician, and Madeleine Rousseau, a midwife. Cause of death, pneumonia. Buried on January 15th, 1756. Ethan stared at the computer screen. The last name was different. The era was different. But the story was exactly like Emily's dream. Doctor, midwife, 6-year-old daughter, died of pneumonia. He printed the document, put it in a folder, and didn't show it to Emily because if he did, he'd have to admit that he believed it. And if he believed it, he'd have to face the fear that Lily was destined to die at 6 years old, like Emily, and she was already 6. How much time was left? One afternoon, Lily was drawing, her favorite activity. She usually drew abstract shapes, circles or lines on repetitive patterns, but that day, she drew something different. Emily watched, Ethan too. Lily picked up the brown crayon, drew a house, small, simple, triangular roof. One window, one door. Then she grabbed the green crayon, drew trees around it. Then she picked colors for people. 3 figures, one tall, one medium, one small, holding hands in front of the house, and then, for the first time in her life, Lily picked up a pencil and wrote, shaky letters, uneven but legible, "Our family." Emily covered her mouth, instant tears. Ethan felt the floor disappear. Lily had never written, never. The therapist said that maybe, at 8 or 9 years old, she'd be able to write her own name. But there it was, 2 words, "Our family," underneath 3 figures. In front of an old house, Emily knelt down beside Lily. Who are these people? Lily pointed to each figure. Daddy, Mommy, me. Ethan felt something break inside him, because Lily pointed to him as Daddy and to Emily as Mommy, not to Olivia, her deceased biological mother, to Emily, as if she recognized them, as if she remembered a family that existed. 275 years ago, Emily took the drawing with trembling hands. "Can I keep this?" Lily nodded and threw herself into Emily's arms. "Our family," the little girl repeated, this time in English. And Ethan, standing there, watching that scene, felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope, but also terror. Because if those two were mother and daughter in another life, what was he, the husband, the father, the partner? And if they were, that meant Emily wasn't just the nanny. It was something much, much deeper. That night, after Emily left, Ethan picked up Lily's drawing. He studied every detail, the house, the trees, the 3 figures, and then he searched on Google, rural houses, France 1750. He found pictures of reconstructions, museums, historical landmarks, and one of them was exactly like Lily's drawing. Same structure, same roof shape, same window and door layout. How could a 6-year-old child, autistic, who had never left the Bronx, accurately draw, with architectural precision, a French rural house from the 18th century? She couldn't, unless she had lived in it. Ethan put the drawing away, along with Amelie's death certificate, along with the recording of the lullaby. Evidence, 3 pieces of evidence of something impossible, and each one of them pointed to the same terrifying conclusion, that souls reincarnate, that memories persist, that families reunite, and that destinies might repeat themselves unless they are changed. 2 weeks later, at Lily's birthday party, everything changed. 7 years old, she was turning 7. Ethan organized a small party, just close family. He didn't have many friends, and Lily didn't have any, but Emily was there. And for Lily, that was enough. The girl was different. In 2 months with Emily, she had progressed. More than in 6 years of therapy. She spoke short sentences, made eye contact, ate on her own, slept better, had fewer meltdowns. The doctors called it a miracle. Ethan called it Emily. The party was on the terrace of the $80 million penthouse. Simple decorations, chocolate cake, a few balloons. Lily was sitting on Emily's lap, looking at the cake, smiling. Ethan lit the 7 candles. Everyone sang happy birthday, voices off-key, but affectionate. And when they finished, Lily looked at the cake, then at Emily, then at Ethan, and extended both hands, one to each of them. I want you to. First, complete sentence. In English, without hesitation, without error. Emily took one hand, Ethan took the other, and the moment the 3 of them touched, the world disappeared. Ethan felt the floor vanish, vision darken, and then clear again. But he wasn't on the terrace anymore. He was in a small house, rustic wood, smell of dried herbs, intense cold, snow falling outside, wind howling, and in his arms, a girl, 6 years old, brown hair, simple white dress. Amélie. She was burning with fever, bluish lips, difficult, wheezing breaths. Jean-Baptiste, because he was Jean-Baptiste now. He remembered. He knew, looked at his wife. Madeleine was crying, holding her daughter's hand. She won't make it, she whispered. The pneumonia is too advanced. No, I'm a doctor, I'm going to save her. But Ethan knew. Deep down, he knew. There were no antibiotics, no hospitals. There was nothing he could do. Emily opened her eyes. Small, brown, just like Lily's. Daddy, Mommy, I don't want to go. You won't, my little one. You're going to stay with us. But she went. Over the next few hours, Ethan tried everything. Compresses, herbs, prayers. Nothing worked. And at 3 in the morning on January 15th, 1756, Emily stopped breathing. In her father's arms, with her mother holding her hand, Olivia screamed, a primal sound of soul-tearing pain. Ethan didn't scream. He just held his daughter, dead, cold, and he made a promise. I'll find her again, in another life. And this time, I'll save her. Olivia looked at him through her tears. Promise or two, Mouse, I promise. The vision ended. Ethan went back to the terrace, gasping, sweaty, his heart racing. He let go of Lily's hand, staggered backward, and saw Emily. She was on the ground, on her knees, crying, sobbing. And Lily was standing between them, looking at them with ancient eyes. You remember now, it wasn't a question. It was a statement. Ethan looked at Emily and knew. She had seen the same thing, the same death, the same promise, because they had been there, together, 275 years ago. And the little girl they held then was the same one standing before them now. The party ended early. Guests left, confused by the strange scene. Only the 3 of them remained, on the empty terrace, the sun setting over the Bronx. Emily was sitting down, still shaking, Ethan beside her, Lily between them. Was it real? Ethan asked, his voice hoarse. What we saw, was it real? Emily nodded, unable to speak. Lily took both of their hands again, more gently this time. You promised, and I came back to give you another chance. Ethan felt tears. The first time he'd cried since Olivia's funeral. Emily died at 6 years old. You're 7 now. That means we changed fate. Lily looked at him. Seriously. Frighteningly mature. Not yet. What does that mean? It means time hasn't passed yet. There's still danger. Emily pulled her into a hug. What danger? What are you talking about? Lily didn't answer. She just buried her face in Emily's neck and whispered something so quiet that it was almost inaudible. My heart. 3 days later, Lily fainted. She was playing with Emily in the playroom, laughing, happy. And suddenly, she collapsed. Without warning, Emily screamed. Ethan ran. They called an ambulance. At the hospital. Tests. Many tests. Electrocardiogram. Echocardiogram. Cardiac MRI. And the diagnosis. Dr. Ethan, the cardiologist, said, "Your daughter has a congenital heart defect. Severe aortic stenosis. It was probably there since birth, but compensated. Now it's decompensating." Ethan turned white. What does that mean? It means her heart isn't able to pump enough blood. Over time, it'll get worse. Is there treatment? Surgery? Valve replacement? But it's complicated. Especially with her autism, the anesthesia is risky. And without surgery, she has maybe a year, maybe less. Ethan felt the floor disappear again. A year. Lily was 7 years old. If she died at 8, it would be almost the same age that Emily died in 1750. Fate hadn't changed, just been delayed. He left the office. Emily was waiting in the hallway. Lily was sleeping on a gurney, sedated for the exams. What did the doctor say? He told her about everything. The heart condition, the risky surgery, the prognosis without treatment. Emily covered her mouth. Silent tears, just like Daniel. She whispered, "What?" "My baby. The one I lost. He died of congenital heart disease." The same thing. Ethan felt a chill. Emily's baby. Who died at 6 hours old? Had the same condition as Lily. Coincidence? Or could it be? Could it be the same soul? Trying to be born, first to Emily, failing, and then being born as Lily, waiting for Emily to be ready, waiting for the family to reunite again. That night, with Lily admitted for observation, Ethan and Emily stayed in the hospital room, sitting in uncomfortable chairs, side by side, watching the little girl sleep. "I won't lose her again," Emily said suddenly. Ethan looked at her. "What?" "In 1750, I couldn't save her. Olivia couldn't. But now we have modern medicine. We have surgery. We have a chance. The surgery is risky. Mortality rate of 15% in autistic children. 15% is better than 100. Without surgery, she dies. With surgery, she has a chance. And if she doesn't survive..." Emily stared at him. Red but determined eyes. "Then at least we tried. At least we fulfilled the promise. To do everything to save her," Ethan thought. About the promise that Jean-Baptiste made 275 years ago. Over the body of his dead daughter. "I'll find her again, and this time, I'll save her." This was the chance. The only one. He nodded. Schedule the surgery. But first, they needed more certainty. Ethan couldn't stop researching. The next day he found something. A digitized file. Lion Library. Collection of historical portraits. Rousseau family. 1755. The portrait was faded, but still visible. A man, shaved beard. Simple clothing of the time. A woman. Long dress. Hair tied up. And between them, a little girl. 6 years old. Brown hair. Jean-Baptiste. Madeleine. Amélie. Ethan zoomed in on the image, focused on the girl, and saw something that made his heart stop. On her right shoulder, visible because the dress had a wider neckline, a mark, small, dark, in the shape of a crescent moon, birthmark. Ethan dropped the computer. He ran to the hospital, burst into the room. Lily was awake, drawing. Emily beside her. "Can I see her shoulder?" Emily blinked, confused. "What?" "Her right shoulder. Please." Emily helped Lily take off the hospital gown, and there it was, on her right shoulder, small, dark, in the shape of a crescent moon. Birthmark. Exactly the same as in the portrait of Amélie Rousseau. From 1755. Ethan showed the portrait on his cell phone. Emily looked. Looked at Lily. Looked again at the portrait. It's her. Same mark, same place, same shape. 4 pieces of evidence now, speaking in Old French, lullaby from 1750. Precise architectural drawing, identical birthmark. These weren't coincidences, they weren't chances. It was evidence, proof, of something that science couldn't explain, but that was there. Undeniable. Lily was Emily. Emily was Olivia. Ethan was Jean-Baptiste. And 275 years later, they were together again. With a second chance. A chance to save the girl they couldn't save before. The surgery was scheduled for 10 days later. 10 days of preparation, examinations, consultations with anesthesiologists, surgical planning, and 10 days of fear. Ethan barely slept. Emily stayed at the hospital day and night. Lily seemed calm, unnervingly calm, as if she knew it was destiny, and accepted it. But Ethan didn't accept it. Emily didn't accept it. They had made a promise 275 years ago. And promises transcend lifetimes. On the night before the surgery, the 3 were together. In the hospital room, Lily between Emily and Ethan in the bed, the 3 of them embraced. And Ethan, for the first time, said it out loud. "I love you both." Emily looked at him, surprised. Ethan continued, "I don't know how this works in reincarnation, past lives, destiny. But I know that you two are my family. Always have been, and always will be." Emily took his hand. "We love you too." And Lily, between them, whispered, "Our family." Again. It was the thumbnail moment. The 3 of them embraced, past and present merging. A 39-year-old CEO, a 31-year-old former teacher, a 7-year-old autistic girl, who 275 years ago were a doctor, a midwife, and a daughter, united by a love that death couldn't extinguish, and by a promise that time couldn't break. Tomorrow, they would try to change destiny, and this time, perhaps they would succeed. The surgery was scheduled for 6 in the morning. Ethan and Emily didn't sleep. They stayed by Lily's side the entire night. The girl slept peacefully, gentle breathing, serene face, as if she didn't know that tomorrow her heart would be opened, her life put at risk, her destiny decided. Or perhaps she did know and trusted. At 5 in the morning, the nurses arrived. Time to prepare. Lily woke up. She looked at Emily, then at Ethan. She didn't speak, but her eyes said everything. "I trust you." Emily held her hand while they administered the pre-anesthetic medication. "We'll be here when you wake up," she whispered. "I promise." Lily smiled. Small, weak, but real. "I know you will." At 5:40, they took Lily to the surgical center. Ethan and Emily accompanied her to the double doors, where they couldn't pass. And when the doors closed, Emily collapsed. Ethan held her. He was also trembling. Because 275 years ago, they had held Amélie for the last time, and they couldn't save her. Now, they had another chance. But what if it wasn't enough? The surgery lasted between 4 and 6 hours. They waited in the waiting room, alone, because they had no one else. Just the 3 of them, the family, that found each other, and through time. Ethan paced back and forth. Emily prayed, even though she wasn't religious, because when everything else fails, You reach for anything. At 7:15, a doctor appeared. Family of Lily? They stood up, hearts racing. The surgery has begun. Everything is progressing well, but it will take time. We suggest you eat something. Rest. We'll let you know if there's any news. They didn't eat. They didn't rest. They just waited. At 8:30, another update. We're in the critical phase and replacing the valve. At 10, complication, arrhythmia, but stabilized. Emily gripped Ethan's hand so tightly it left marks. At 11:45, the chief surgeon came out, still in surgical scrubs. Mask lowered, tired expression. Ethan and Emily stood up, and from the doctor's expression, they couldn't tell if it was good news, in or bad. The surgery was a success. Emily let out a sound, half laugh, half cry. Ethan felt his knees weaken. We managed to replace the valve. The heart is beating strongly. She's stable. But the next 48 hours are critical. She needs to stay in the ICU, sedated. She can't have complications. Can we see her? Not yet. In 2 hours. When she settled in the ICU. 5 minutes only. They waited 2 more hours that felt like days. And finally, they were called. The pediatric ICU was a frightening place. Bright lights, beeping machines, children in critical condition. And in bed 7, Lily, intubated, sedated. Wires and tubes connected everywhere. Heart monitor showing regular beats, but alive. Emily covered her mouth. Silent tears. Ethan approached. He touched his daughter's hand. Small, cold, but with a pulse. You did it, little one. You're stronger than destiny. 5 minutes passed quickly. Nurse asked them to leave. But before leaving, Emily leaned in, whispered in Lily's ear. Madeline couldn't save Emily, but Emily saved Lily. The promise was kept. The next 48 hours were a roller coaster. Lily had a fever. They controlled it. Had a drop in blood pressure. They stabilized it. Had bleeding. They intervened. Each alarm was a heart attack for Ethan and Emily. But she fought, with a strength that a 7-year-old shouldn't have, or maybe she did, because she was an old soul who had already died once and didn't want to die again. On the 3rd day they removed the sedation. Lily woke up, confused, scared. But the first thing she did was look, with her eyes. And when she saw Emily and Ethan, even through the glass of the ICU because they couldn't enter, she relaxed. They were there, as they promised. On the 5th day, they removed the tube. Lily was breathing on her own. On the 7th, they transferred her to a regular room. On the 10th, Lily said her first words post-surgery. It hurts. Simple words, but miraculous, because she was alive. To feel pain. And pain meant life. It meant she had a future. 3 weeks later, Lily was discharged. Ethan hired nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists. But who really took care of her was Emily, who moved into the penthouse, officially as a private nurse, but in practice as a mother. And in the following months, something extraordinary happened. Lily improved. Not just her heart, everything. The autism didn't disappear. It doesn't work that way. But she progressed. She spoke more, interacted more, smiled more. As if the surgery had been more than physical. As if it had been spiritual. As if saving the body had freed the soul. And Lily blossomed. She started attending a special school, made friends, learned to read, to write, to paint, and always, she had Emily by her side, but now Ethan too, because he understood, finally. That being a father is not just providing. It's being present. It's knowing. It's loving. And for the first time in 7 years, he really knew his daughter. And he loved her. Completely. 6 months after the surgery, during a routine checkup, the cardiologist delivered the news. The heart is perfect. The valve is functioning flawlessly. She's cured. Cured. A word that, back in 1750, didn't exist for Amélie, but in 2025, it existed for Lily, because medicine has evolved, and the promise was kept. That night, Ethan prepared a special dinner on the terrace, where they'd had their shared vision, just the three of them, the family. Lily was happy, eating, laughing, telling them all about school, and in the middle of dinner, Ethan stood up. He took a box from his pocket, small, made of velvet. Emily looked up, surprised. Ethan knelt, down in front of her. Emily Morales, 275 years ago, you were Madeleine, and I was Jean-Baptiste. We lost our daughter, and we lost each other. But we made a promise to find her again and save her. We kept that promise, together. And now, I want to make another promise, to spend every life to come by your side. Will you marry me? Emily was crying, Queen laughing, both at the same time. Yeah, 1,000 times yes. He placed the ring on her finger, simple, elegant, and Lily clapped, shouting, Mommy and Daddy are getting married. Our family is going to stay together. And it was true. 3 months later, and they were married. A small ceremony, just close friends and family. Lily was the flower girl. White dress, flowers in her hair, radiant, healthy, alive. When Emily walked down the aisle, Ethan couldn't hold back his tears, because he saw her with 2 visions, 2 lifetimes. Madeleine, in a simple dress from 1750, at a village wedding, poor but happy. And Emily, in a designer wedding gown, at a luxury ceremony, rich but equally happy. Same soul, 2 lives, same love. The vows were simple. Ethan said, I promise to love you in this life and in every life to come, because some promises transcend death. Emily said, I promise to be by your side in this life and in every life to come, because some souls recognize each other, no matter how much time passes. And Lily, who insisted on saying something too, said, I promise to be a good girl so that you don't get sad again. There wasn't a dry eye in the place, because this wasn't just a wedding, it was a healing of a wound that spanned centuries. After the ceremony, they did something special. They went to Lyon, France, the 3 of them. The first time Lily had ever left the Bronx, they looked for the place where Jean-Baptiste and Madeleine's house had been. It was a rural area, a small village, still preserved, and they found it. With the help of a local historian, the land where the house had stood, now empty, just grass, wildflowers, but Lily recognized it immediately. Our house, she said, where we lived before. They stood there, the 3 of them, holding hands, and Ethan spoke. To the past, to Amélie, to Jean-Baptiste and Madeleine. We did it. We saved her. The promise was kept. The wind blew, carrying leaves. And for a moment, Ethan swore he heard, thank you. They returned to the Bronx, to the penthouse. But now, it wasn't just a penthouse. It was home. Emily quit her nanny job. She became officially Lily's mother, the legal adoption of Lily. Ethan reduced his hours at work to be more present. And Lily lived, truly lived. At 8 years old, she gave her first theatre performance at school, a small role, but she spoke, on stage, in front of people. At 9, she painted a picture that won an award in a school contest. At 10, she made her first friend, a real friend, who didn't care about the autism. She just saw Lily, and with each milestone, with each achievement, Ethan and Emily remembered. Amelie died at 6. Lily was 10 and had a whole future ahead of her. Destiny had been changed. And you need to understand something. This story isn't about reincarnation, not really. It's about promises, about love that refuses to accept defeat, about souls that refuse to give up. Jean-Baptiste promised to find Amélie again, and he found her. As Ethan and Lily, Madeleine promised to protect her, and she protected her, as Emily. And Amélie promised to return, and she returned, as Lily. 275 years, 3 lives, 1 family, and this time, with a different ending. On Lily's 10th birthday, they threw a party, a big one, on the terrace. Friends from school, teachers and family, and in the middle of the party, Lily asked to speak. She stood on a chair so that everyone could see, and she said, with a clear and firm voice, "I want to thank you. My daddy, who didn't give up on me when everyone said there was no cure. My mommy, who found me even when she didn't know she was looking for me. And all of you who accept me as I am. I had another life before this one, and I died, young, without a chance to live. But I came back, and this time, my mommy and daddy saved me, and now I'm going to live for a long time, and I'm going to make them proud." Silence. And then applause. Many didn't understand. Some thought it was cute, others are strange. But Ethan and Emily understood perfectly. And when the party was over, when everyone had left, the 3 of them stayed on the terrace, looking at the star, as they had done so many times, Lily between her parents, her head on Emily's shoulder, her hands holding Ethan's, and she asked, "Are we going to find each other again in the next life?" Ethan and Emily looked at each other and answered together, "Always." Because some promises have no end, some souls are intertwined forever, and some families, no matter how much time passes, how many lives they live, will always recognize each other, and they will always choose each other, again and again and again, until the end of time. This was the story of Ethan, Emily, and Lily, or of Jean-Baptiste, Madeleine, and Amélie, or maybe of other lives, other names, other times, but always the same essence, the same family, the same love. And if you've made it this far, to the end of this story, maybe it's because you recognize something. Maybe you also have someone who seems familiar, who you feel like you know, from nowhere, from no time, or from all times. Pay attention to those people, because maybe they have crossed lifetimes to find you, and maybe, just maybe, you also have promises to keep. If this story touched you, if it made you feel something, leave a super thanks. It's not about the money, it's about the energy, because soul stories need soul in return. And your support shows that you understood, that you felt, that you also believe. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who has lost someone who feels that family is more than blood, share it, because these stories aren't mine, they're ours, of all of us who believe that love doesn't end, ever. See you in the next story. in the next life, in the next soul encounter. Until then, remember this. Some people aren't just a coincidence. They're destiny, and destiny always finds a way. Epilogue. 15 years later. Lily was 22 years old, a graduate in psychology, specializing in autism, because she understood, from the inside, what it was like to live with it. And she used that understanding to help other children, other parents, and other families who were where she had been. Ethan was 54, grey hairs at his temples, fewer hours at the office, more time with family. Emily, 46. She founded an NGO for special needs children, using Ethan's fortune to make a difference, to save other Lilies. And that day, in a park on the Upper East Side, the three of them were sitting together. As they did every Sunday, Lily had news. "Mom, Dad, I met someone." Ethan and Emily exchanged glances, smiling. "Tell us." "His name is Lucas. He's 24. He's a music teacher. And he also has autism. Mild. But he does. And when I looked at him, I felt something familiar, like I already knew him. From another time, another place." Ethan took his daughter's hand. "And what are you going to do?" "I'm going to find out, because if I've learned anything from you both, it's that when your soul recognizes someone, you don't ignore it. You investigate. You take a chance. You love." Emily hugged her daughter. Tears of pride. "You've learned well." Lily got up. She had to go. Meeting Lucas. But before leaving, she turned around. "Thank you for everything, for saving me, for loving me, for teaching me that some families choose each other, and those are the best ones." And she left. Ethan and Emily remained, watching their daughter walk away, alive, healthy, happy, in love. Everything Amelie never had a chance to be. "We kept our promise," Emily whispered. "No," Ethan corrected. "We did more than that. We gave her not just life, but a full life, a complete one, a real one. And maybe that's the true meaning of reincarnation. Not just returning it, but returning better, with more chances, with more love, with more time." They stayed in the park until the sun went down, hands intertwined, as they were 275 years ago, as they would be in all the lives to come, because some souls don't separate. Even when death tries, even when time insists, they always find a way to come back, to recognize each other, and to love each other, again, and again, and again, always.